Hello, hope you're having an amazing day. And today I want to share with you some of the newest updates that Wix is doing. And I think this is important, so I'm gonna just do a whole playlist because there's a lot of new updates that Wix is doing. So that way, anytime you want to know about what's going on, you can just go there. Or if you have a question, please make sure you write it down because sometimes there's things that could be a glitch, but there's definitely some things that Wix is changing right now that is definitely going to affect how your website is set up or if you're working on something. One of the biggest things that they changed right now is how you reference a collection. Before, you can just reference a collection from any of their apps and it will work. Now you have to turn that option on. So the way you do it is first make sure you go into the CMS and then you're gonna select your collections or Wix app collections. It doesn't matter. What we wanna do is we wanna go under manage, and once you're here, you're gonna go to more actions, advanced settings. You wanna make sure this is on. If this is off like this, then you won't be able to reference anything in the collection. So let me show you. One thing also is I'm gonna be showing you some new stuff that they added, and it's gonna be very useful. So when I go here and I try to reference the private members collection, it won't let me. So I have to turn it on first. Let's go here one more time. We're gonna go under advanced settings and then turn this on. So now it should let me do it. So when I go here, and if you already had a website and you were referencing the collection, you might have to turn it on because that's something new that they added. So now as you can see, it's there, so you can reference that. So that's the first thing, okay? The other thing that they did is, which some people already found it, but just in case this is new to you, you wanna go under control and item visibility. So you can turn this on and keep all the items visible. And if we go here now, you're gonna be able to see this option right here, the status. So this is so helpful because if you, for example, wanna use Velo and code to decide what items get visible and which ones are hidden, you can also do that. So this is again gonna be super useful, but also you can schedule. So if you wanna release an item to be visible in your repeater or on your page, you can schedule it and then it will be either visible or you can schedule to be hidden. So depending, right? So right now this is visible, so the schedule is gonna be to be hidden. But if it's the other way, let's say if it's hidden and then you will try to schedule it, now you can make it visible. So that's again something that it's very important. The other thing I want to talk is about understanding the different fields that you have, since we're doing a little bit about databases specifically, and I'm going to explain to you what kind of items you have and how this can work whenever you're doing dynamic pages or when you're creating some specific website. So the first thing is understanding the whole collection thing. So you have your collection and anything that you create is gonna show here, and then you have the Wix app collections, which these are created by the system. If you add, for example, the members app, then you're gonna be able to use the private members data and the public data. If you were to add a store, so if I were to add a store here, then it will also display that inside the Wix collection right here. And those are useful whenever you want to create your own design for example, the blog section. You don't like what it looks like, you want to create your own, and then that's where you're going to need it. Or if you're creating a store and you want a different design, that's when you're going to need it. Now on your collection, you have these three little dots, and then you have the option to see the whole collection, the settings. Here I like to explain what is all this part. So again, if this is your first time working with collections, you're gonna understand better what it is. One thing is here, right? You have the name. Once you name your collection, you won't be able to change the ID, whatever you set it. I can change the name. So for example, I have a name as calendar, and now I can name it something like notebook, right? And it does change the name, but it didn't change the ID. Why is this important? Is because whenever you're gonna start working with Velo or code, then this is gonna be important. If you're not working with code, then this won't be very necessary, but just keep that in mind. So let's just keep it back to how I had it. And if you decide to, completely change the ID because, I don't know, whatever the reason is, you can just completely delete the collection and open a new one. And I'm also going to show you how you can import and export data from one collection to another, since we're going over all the details. So we'll get that right now. Then the visibility, this is again what I showed in the beginning. For a lot of people that follow my videos, I have many things that I'm working on that require the private members collection, but also people that want to display or hide certain things. So this is going to be very useful. And then you can automatically have your whole collection to be hidden or visible. Then you have the table layout option. So this is something that we're not going to be using today, because again, this is getting more advanced. So I just want to talk about the most common important things that you're going to be using. Permissions and privacy. You can automatically go here and select one of the preset options, but then it might be confusing. If this is new to you, then you might be like, well, what the heck is that, right? So what I would like to do usually is just explain everything. First thing is who can view the content. So let's say you created a database that you want to display on a dynamic page, and you want anyone to be able to see it. So that's why you have it here. But let's say if you only want to have the data or the information on that page be visible for people that have signed up into the website, then you want to do site member. And then if you want to do only visibility to people that created their own information, this is very common for, like, let's say if you're creating some type of like social media website or some type of thing where you want people to be able to access just their own information. That's when you want to select site member author, because they created that. And then admin is just going to be you, so nobody else can access that. So that's what is this for. I usually keep this as anyone because I want it to be visible for anyone. But here on who can add the content, usually I'll do site member because I want the person to sign up into the website to be able to add content. Unless you're creating a public form, then you'll keep it to anyone. Then who can delete the content? Normally, again, depends on what level of permissions you want to give to the user. If you want the person that submitted the data to be able to also delete it, then you're going to use the author. But if not, you can also keep it just site member, and whoever that has a login account can add or delete data. And then who can update it? Same thing, site member author or site member. Okay, so in this case, we're just gonna leave it like that and then click save. So now your collection has the permissions, but you can also put permissions on the pages. So whenever you want to create a dynamic page, you want to go under the three little dots, and then you want to do add dynamic page. So if I click here, it automatically gives me these three different designs. Usually I like to do two different pages for collections. One, if I'm creating any type of database for employees, team members, books, artists, music, whatever it is, right? You want to have the first page to display everything. So that's when you're going to use something like list page. And then when they click on one of the items, you want to show an itemized or more detailed information from that. So that's when I will have the second one, which is going to be item page. These again are already designed. I usually don't like to use those ones because I want to create my own. So first I will use just the blank page, and then once I have this page added, then right here, let's give it a second, and there it is. So once I add it, I'm gonna go to pages, and now you'll see my dynamic pages right here. I'm gonna click these three little dots, go to settings here, and as you can see, it's automatically setting it to title. What does title mean is when you go inside the collection, right, that you created, your primary field, which is this one right here, it has a little flag, is set to primary automatically by the system. So let's say in this specific collection, I don't want this to be my primary. I'm gonna use, let's say, I'm gonna create another one, and I'm gonna have it as full name. And I click save, and then I can set this as my primary. Then what is gonna happen is whenever you open the website, the name after the website, that's where this is gonna show. So you have your website, and then if you have it as full name, then it's gonna be full name here. If you have it as title, whatever you have in the title. One thing to keep in mind is that if this is empty, your page is not gonna open because you have this as dynamic page with the primary. So if let's say I have data and then I connect everything and I try to open my page and it won't open, it most likely is because this item is empty. So what I normally like to do also, and more in the US, because here in America people only have first name and last name, not like other countries where they have two. Then sometimes the odds of having two people with the same name and last name is really high. If that's the case and you have this as the primary, then the problem is that you're gonna have this conflict and the page won't open, or it might open only for the one that was added first. So the second person won't be able to see that page. So what you do here in this case, or what I like to do is usually, so first, I'm gonna set the page as list. So I'm gonna completely just delete this and keep it like that. So this automatically becomes my all content data, where I'm gonna have all each of the items. And then the second page, I'm gonna use the ID. So I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna click the three little dots and then add dynamic page. And I'm gonna use a blank page again. And once it adds, instead of me using the dynamic page for the title or full name or whatever it is, what I'm gonna do instead is I'm gonna use an ID. So if we go here, again, it picked the full name now because I made it a primary, but in this case, I don't want that because again, I don't want any conflicts. So I'm gonna delete it and I'm gonna use ID instead. Because the ID is created by the system, so you won't have any issues of, you know, having a page that's not gonna load. Yes, this part might look a little longer, but to be honest, I feel like it's better than having problems opening. Unless you're trying to have something more specific, then it's totally up to you. But again, those are the only risks about that. So once you have that, we're gonna go back to the collection, and then we're gonna understand the remaining part of this. Okay, so one of the things is you have your collection, and inside your collection you have what's called items, right? So if we go here and I have an item, okay, let's go to the bottom. So the item that I have here, which I have too much content here, that's why it's not, we're not gonna go to the bottom, but each of this is an item. Second, 3, 4, 5, all of these are items. So why it's important to understand that is because, again, if you're using code, then you need to understand how you're gonna have your data, right? So you have items and then you have fields. All of these are your fields, but each field have a specific type of field. Okay, so all these are fields. So first we have the text field. This is gonna be, and we're gonna go through each of them. Each field is only be able to connect with specific type of element. So the text field, if I select it, right, the field type is text. So I can only add text here. I could add anything else, but it's not gonna work. For example, if I want only to add numbers or a URL, then it won't know that it's a URL because I have it as a text. The field ID is whatever I write here. So in this case, I can do something like phone number. And as you can see, that's my field ID. Sometimes if you have turned off the developer mode or on Wix Studio now it's called start coding, you might not see the field ID. So if that's off, I'm gonna save this for now. If this is off, then you might not see that option. And if you're using the classic editor, it's gonna be at the top. So you have to turn on the developer mode in order for you to see the field ID. So let's go back so you can see what I'm talking about. And when we go here, as you can see, now I don't see the field ID. So that's why it's important that if you're gonna code or you're gonna use some type of Velo, you're gonna use Velo, not some type of Velo, make sure that you have your developer mode on. So we're gonna go back here. So again, the first one that we added right now, it was phone number, and I use text. Why I use text for a phone number if phone numbers are numbers is because sometimes people like to add the dash in between. So if I do this as a number, if we go here, it won't let me add a dash. So that's why you have to understand that part, know if that's a big deal or not. That's why I like to keep it that way. Now we're gonna add another one. Rich text is if you want people to be able to add a little bit more stuff, like maybe a different type of font, size, things like that. And then that's when you're gonna use the rich text. So let's select that one. And this we can just name it bio. And then we're gonna add another one, which is gonna be the rich content. Here is where you can add HTML code, videos, text, links, anything. It's literally like a website within a website. That's how I want to identify it. And here we can just put like portfolio. Okay. And portfolio. Okay. And then we're gonna add another one, which is the URL. The URL is usually only for links. So if you add www.google.com, it's not gonna work because you have to add HTTPS and then / and then the domain. So you have to add the whole URL because if not, it's gonna give you an error. So that's important to know. Also, let's add it. And here I can do booking. So an example, let's say I use this for someone to be able to add their booking calendar or the link, so then they can do it. Numbers, again, is mainly just if you're doing something like ratings for websites, if you want to use like stars, being able to do something like that, you use it. Or if you're doing like years of experience, for example, you only want them to be able to add a number, nothing else, then you'll use this. Tags, as the name it says it, you can use for, let's say, specific things like services, selections. So that's why you use the tags. And then Boolean is only gonna be used as one selection, either terms of service or the Boolean will be good for selection of like making something visible or not. Reference is my favorite. Reference is when you want to use two different collections and display the data in one single page. So this is where you can do something like, for example, blogs, okay? And then you can go back here and look for, let's say, another collection. I'm just gonna use badges just for easy samples. And then now I can reference it. Here, of course, there's no badges right now, so that's why it's not gonna show anything. But let's go back here. We're gonna use this one. And then now when I select here, you'll see there's data right there. The only thing about this is that if you don't use code, you have to manually reference it. So whenever you're using code, this is very useful. Now we're gonna go into this part, image. This will be something like, let's say, profile, and then you can add a single image. Then right here under gallery, then you can add videos, images, even files, but in this case we can just do gallery. And then on the next one, we're gonna do if you want to do a single video only, audio, or documents, then you can do that. Address, this is really cool because it automatically gives you the option for it's connected with Google, so if I put an address, it will automatically display and it can be selected. The only downside of this is whenever you're creating a search functionality, if you want people to be able to search only by city or state or zip code, you have to be very good at how you're going to set up your code to be able to search that in your collection, because if not, it's not going to work. The other thing is if you want to display, let's say, a drop down with state, it is possible to filter here, but if you don't want to complicate your life, I will just add a text and I'll add state, for example, and then I will add another one for city. That's kind of like the way around it. It's not recommended, but again, if you watch my other videos, I have some where I show you how to filter this, so that way you don't have to do this, because it's the same thing. It takes more time, but it's easier. And then we're gonna go into date. This is for birthdays, upcoming events, things like that, or times. And the most favorite out of all of this for me also is the object, because the object is really good if you have a code and you want to add multiple things for one single item. So remember, an item is this. So for example, I want to add 5 images, a title, and I don't know, maybe a link or 2 or 3 links. Rather than having each of these fields, I can have everything be added in one object, and then it's easier to display. It's a little bit more complex. I'm gonna be doing a video on that soon, so stay tuned for that. But pretty much that's part of what you can do on the collection. You have, this is new, also called mirror on site. So exactly how this is I wouldn't say adjusted, how this is organized in your collection. So let's say you have portfolio, then booking, then budgets. If I flip it here, it won't affect how my data is displayed. But if I use mirror on site, exactly the way it is here organized is how it's gonna show on my, let's say, repeater, dynamic page, or anything like that. So now that I have that, I'm gonna go into show you what kind of elements you can connect and what you cannot connect. Okay, so we're gonna first add a repeater, and this is our list page. So this is where you add most of your elements again. So it will be like the profile image. So let's use this image right here, and then let's say it's a name. And again, we're touching a little bit of the basis of a dynamic page, but again, is useful. So going in here, you have your image, your title, or your name here, right? So when I connect this to my collection, the system, because this is like dynamic page, automatically added the calendar item. So I can use that one, and now I can connect my image. So as you can see here, you do one thing to look for when you're using reference collections, because I am adding a reference collection. Now I could reference the picture in the system. So you have to make sure you select the right one. So I'm not going to use the reference private data image. So I'm going to scroll past that, and I'm going to use just my profile image that I created in my collection. So I have that there. Then here I'm gonna connect it to I didn't have a full name, so I can just use the private one, and that's it, right? So the other thing here is because I use the private data collection, if I put this page as a public page, people won't be able to see it because that item is only for members only. So people won't be able to see this, and even people that have an account won't be able to see it because it's only visible to, that's what it's called, private members data. So only you use it for setting up like the login and referencing to sign up an account, or whoever that create an account. I hope I'm not confusing you, but again, you never want to connect other elements other than just using it to reference the email that they use to create the account for whoever is creating, like an example directory, a listing, things like that. So this one, we're just gonna use the one I created, and then we're gonna go here under input. This is where you're gonna find most of the elements that you can use for things that you can connect into your collection. So the input, the text, can be connected to the field type text. Rich text can only be connected to rich text field type, and then date picker and time can also be connected only to the field type date and time. And then signature can be used inside the object, so that's where you can connect it. Drop downs can be connected to text, to tags, numbers, so you can connect it to multiple things. The ratio button can only be connected to Boolean. Checkboxes also can be connected to text, to tags, and then multi-checks, of course, can be also used for the tags only. And then upload button, this is for mainly like when you're gonna connect a to the gallery to upload an image. And one thing to know about this is that when you want to add, want to connect it to your gallery, right? So if you connect it to your gallery, here you can select if you want to do image and video or just image. If you do image and video, you can select how many elements you want to connect. Before you can only do 10, they increase it now, but I will recommend that you don't give them too much files to upload because it could take a while to load, and you don't want them to, if their internet is not that fast, have problems, and then they're gonna think your website's too slow. So that's where you can connect on that. Then the ratings can be connected to field type number, and the switch can be also used for visibility using code. So those are going to be the most important things that you can use, and of course the database through the data set. So again, collections are going to be very useful when you want to display multiple data or information. Instead of you having to create multiple pages, you can just add all the information there, and then on the dynamic page you're gonna set up the first, which is the list, and then the second, which is the detail page, so that way you don't have to be creating everything. An example is gonna be this thing that I created here. Let's actually take a look so you'll see how helpful this is. And what I created here is pretty much just a kind of like a workout thing that I'm working on. It's just something I'm doing for fun right now. Let me see if this is up actually. Let's go here and let's view the site here. Have a lot of stuff here, so let me see if it loads. Come on. I have to, maybe I changed the permissions, I think. Let me see. No, I think it will work because I haven't changed it. So anyways, what I did here is pretty much just have different workouts that I'm doing, right? So I have about 900 plus items. So imagine if I would have to create a page for each 900, it'll be crazy. So instead I added all the data into my collection, and now I'm using 2 pages for the repeater, for the dynamic page to display all this data. It makes it very easy. So hopefully, again, I didn't confuse you. My goal was to kind of give you more understanding about what you can do with collections. Again, the newest updates are going to be coming up. Just keep an eye on them because there's a lot of cool stuff that Wix is adding. And if you have questions to something specific, add the comment, let me know, and I'll be very happy to help you. Have a good one and see you in the next video.